Hi, guys. My name is Justin W. Wilson, Esquire, still licensed magically. This is my co-host. I'm the co-host. We're co-hosts together. I don't know how this works.
Welcome to another fabulous episode of Tangled Rides, and I am just over the moon about this.
Please introduce yourself, and then I'm going to say the legal thing. Please.
My name is Shane D. Cox, Esquire, still a licensed attorney.
And this is not legal advice. If you're in the Las Vegas area, Nevada, or Kansas, we can help you. Otherwise, please seek counsel from your local attorney. They'll help you. Okay. All right. So what's happened in Las Vegas lately, Shane?
Oh, I've been tracking this for years.
You're so excited.
Years and years, and I don't usually get
fired up. It's not weird. It's not weird at all.
Justin's been making fun of me. I have been just watching this diligently. It's just captivated me for a while because I have a personal involvement.
Vendetta?
Not a vendetta, but I was a law school classmate of Robert Trelles and knew him during law school, and I grew up here, and so I have a lot of personal kind of tie-ins that I will tell you guys about as we go through this episode.
All right. Robert Trelles, what was his job?
I'm going to go way back.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning.
When did you meet him?
Well, Robert Trelles was born in Biloxi, Mississippi. And you'll see I have a hat for the Biloxi Shuckers, named because they're right there on the coast. Biloxi is known for its seafood, so this is an oyster. So Biloxi Shuckers is the hat for today's episode because Robert Trelles was born in Biloxi. So my first experience is I show up at law school, orientation.
When was this, 19 what?
No, 2012.
Oh, okay.
August 2012, we have orientation at law school, and this bald-headed little short guy is the law school student body president.
That means he's popular, right?
And maybe. No. You can tell that he's a little self-important. You know, he thinks he's pretty cool.
Okay, like what made you be able to see that?
I just think you can tell that about somebody like...
Right, but usually there's like an air of cockiness,
yes,
or
self-confidence.
That one, or one of my favorites is when you're talking to somebody and they put on that kind of fake, like the self-deprecating humor, but they always talk about themselves, or anytime someone's telling something, they'll one-up them.
No.
And that's different than story time. As humans, as especially a Midwesterner, we love that. We'll be just sitting around a campfire telling stories, but there's always that one guy, you know?
There's no self-deprecation with him. It's just like... The first thing that I heard and remember from this man is, this is serious. Law school is very serious, and we're doing important things here. And
no, we're not. It's all a joke. Everything we do is a joke.
And if you've watched us at all, you know that I love hats, and I've been collecting hats since 2007, and so I loved hats then, and Robert Trelles comes up and says, guys, it is not professional to be wearing hats in law school. I'm like, okay, yeah, like that makes sense. This is kind of professional, but I was like, this guy's kind of a...
I'm going to interject a little bit because I want to fill in some things. When he introduced himself, how did he hi, my name is...
I don't remember. This is 12 years ago. This is the one thing that I remember.
Did he go by Bob? Rob?
No.
Was he a Robert?
He was Robert Trelles. Or Rob.
Okay, so he did have a short nickname,
Robert
right?
Trelles. And this is important. Trelles. His name was Trelles.
That's how he'd say it?
That's how he'd say it all the time.
Robert Trelles.
Not...
Don't forget the name.
A Hispanic pronunciation, Trelles, which comes out in the murder trial that we're going to talk about. Yeah. His last name's pronounced differently at trial, but that's
so just... do you think he whitewashed it?
Maybe. And maybe there is something that, But we're in Las Vegas.
Right.
We're a big Hispanic town. Like, you can say Trelles, but people are going to default to Trelles.
Most people can't say that, actually, probably.
Yeah, maybe that's it. So, okay. So that's very first experience with him.
No hats.
It's
unprofessional.
And I'm like, all right, whatever. But pretty soon after, the law school, as it does, has a lot of parties. Because as we've talked about before, grad students, this is your group that you hang out with.
And it sucks. So you got to blow off some steam.
Yes. So they have a party, and lo and behold, Robert Trelles, after this party, I don't go because I am not in that scene. I'm married already. So
he does not. What's your favorite party drink, Shane? Real quick.
I don't drink. I've never drank. ever.
I asked you what your favorite party drink was, not whether you drink alcohol.
Oh, Monster. Peachy
Yeah,
Keen.
there you
This
go,
is my
guys.
favorite
right.
energy drink in the whole world, and I'm ready to get amped for this.
At a party, what happens?
At a party, afterwards, it is found out and that there is an accusation. I'll call it an accusation.
So it was
I not
alleged
there.
that something happened.
It was alleged that Robert Trelles had inappropriately touched a first-year law student who she had just started law school with all of us.
What year was he at this time? Was he a 3L?
He was a part-time student. So this was his. Yes, he was a part-time student.
Part-time student, one student body president?
He was a nighttime student. Yeah. Something you need to know about Robert is he just always seemed like one of those aspirational people. There were rumors afterwards that he had aspirations to be governor someday.
So he had like a lot of involvement. He was
one of those that involved himself in things and just wanted to be the leader.
Was he a gunner or was he just doing like
I didn't have
extracurricular stuff?
I think I maybe only had one class with him, but we call gunners people who love to raise their hand in law school. They are gunning. Hey, I want to be the one because, hey, a lot of senators, a lot of congressmen, congresswomen come from law school lawyers.
Congresspersons.
Whatever they're called, they come from law school, a lot of them. So
also,
there's a lot of, we call them gunners, ready to raise their hand. Well, actually, what I think about this is this.
1771. The other thing is that you've got a bunch of type A people in a room with a bunch of other type A, most of them really relatively intelligent. I mean, if I'm not being a jerk. And they all want to be the smartest one in the room.
Yes, they want to outdo each other.
Yeah.
And he's from Las Vegas and goes to law school in Las Vegas and wants to be the biggest fish in a small pond or whatever. So I was not friends with him. He was not the kind of person that I wanted to be friends with. I kind of had my own thing going on. I was with my wife already, so I spent my free time with her. I grew up here.
You guys like each other?
Me and my wife?
Yeah.
We did then.
Sick.
We do now.
You just been liking each other. How long have you been married?
Now it's been 14 years.
Jesus.
14 years.
Congratulations, my boy.
Thank you. Love
That's
you, Hannah.
Number one supporter. Always the first one to watch our show and say that I curse too much.
She gives me actual feedback instead of some people, you know.
Oh yeah, they're too nice.
Just being nice.
Yeah, she's been married too long enough. She can be mean.
Okay, so sex assault accusations of touching a female law student inappropriately.
Okay.
What comes out after is some students that are also on the student body, you know, the organizations that want to hold a vote to have him removed.
Vote of no confidence?
That is what ends up happening, yes. So we are part of an email listserv that goes back and forth, and there's people, you know, gathering in support of Robert Trelles and people, you know, against Robert Trelles wanting him to get removed. So they look at the student bylaws. They try and get the student body police involved. But the stories are the girl just did not want to come forward. She didn't want to ruin her legal career. And, you know, and Robert was a person to go after people. And he pushed back and would not step down. And so eventually there is a vote, and he does leave office as the student body president because of this. So that is my involvement with Robert. He becomes a lesser figure. You know, I don't think about him at all. I think he maintains those aspirations.
You weren't sitting there at night sometimes just as you were taking your hat off after a long day and you think of Robert and you're like...
I will say, I after that day decided, I think that wearing a hat at law school is, you know, less unprofessional than sexually assaulting someone.
When the guy who told me that
think.
wearing hats is unprofessional essays somebody, I'm not going to listen to him anymore.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Your opinion is invalid. So
yeah,
OF detected, opinion ignored. Right. I don't know if you've seen that on social media.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was just tangled up in my chair.
Tangled rights. Okay.
Tangled in the chair.
So it comes out now. I've seen a lot of things. I've had a group chat with some law school classmates. We all kind of knew Robert. So when this all is coming out, we're texting. We're saying, what is going on? This is insane. Just recently, I saw one of my law school professors that was also a professor of Robert said, well, when I gave him a grade, he did not like that. And he came to my office and put his finger an inch away from my face and tried to force me to change his grade.
What class was that?
My class was torts that I had.
And that,
So I would assume that he also had her for torts. Very good teacher. I had an excellent tort teacher, and now I do a lot of tort law. So thank you,
my
Professor.
favorite class in law school was torts.
It was a great class.
One of them, anyway. So wait. She said that he
Yes, got in her face, a finger inch away, just telling
changed
her,
my grade. I'm so much smarter.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
Okay, so that is one of the stories.
For those of you that don't know, oftentimes your grade in law school is maybe dependent on two things. One, whether you showed up the amount you're supposed to. They'll give you like 10% credit for that. Maybe you have a midterm, but usually it's just credit and a final. So one test and that's it.
Just one test.
And it's about everything that you took the whole semester. So for torts, that's the way we did it. We had just one test, and it can be a big deal. And if you're having a bad day, or we had a con law professor that requested a downward deviation for con law 2 so we could fail more people than the curve. And this is an upper level class. It was awful. That was the only grade I got that was below a B+. It was awful. Anyway, emotions can run high, which is fair. But you don't behave that way.
No, not to a professor, but he was an older student. Maybe he thought he was a little more entitled. I don't know. He was a character. There's a lot of stories of people who had their own encounters of him trying to intimidate them.
Maybe he was a narcissist and just felt like
he was a narcissist. I think that
is
so many people have made that comment watching his trial too, and there's more we'll go into about that. So I see him once after law school. I go to a bankruptcy training thing, and he's there. I don't talk to him at all because I'm like, man, I do not like that guy.
Did he acknowledge you? Like,
no, not even. Because I think he's above me, right? In his brain, he was above me. It's not
funny,
like
though,
I've seen people. Well, we'll get into the lifts that he wears.
He's
in his shoes later.
6'4", dude. He testified to it.
Oh, this trial was so.
It must be true.
It gave so much. So I'll see people in court all the time because a lot of people who went to law school here end up practicing here, and I'll see them and I'll give them a wave or, hey, how you been? Where you been? What kind of law you're doing? Kind of that
kids,
stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah. Are you still hanging out with whoever?
Standard
from law school?
niceties.
Yeah, of course.
Turns out lawyers are people too.
Yeah. So I run across him that once. I become aware he has his own law firm. He starts his own law firm out of law school, which is
brave,
aspirational, but he has a lot of people he knows.
Right.
He does have his
it's
web.
not a bad idea.
And he's not afraid to talk to people. So he goes out and he talks to people. If you have aspirations for that kind of stuff, that's what you're going to do. Wow. And so that's what he did. There's some rumors now that have come out when he had his own law firm that he did some sexually inappropriate and made advances at some of his staff. And he would run his finger down.
Dude, don't do that.
He would talk about having relationships with them. So it got to the point, it went far enough where his employee hired an attorney to send him a letter, a cease and desist, like, do not do this to me kind of letter. So if it gets to that point, it's not.
Why would you just leave?
I don't know. Like, don't blame the abused.
I'm not blaming the abused. I'm just saying.
No, it's a question. And like, obviously, people are scared of this is a whole Me Too thing, this is 2016, 2017.
Right,
this is years ago. And, I know he puts forth about how connected he is too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she fears for, her future job or whatever. Yeah. And he sues a lot of people. If you look up a history, and part of the trial was he was going to sue the people at his office. And he's bound to sue some other people too. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, probably some podcasters.
Yeah, well, we'll fight back. Whatever.
Bring it.
Dude, honestly bring it. I love it. We sue other attorneys sometimes for things.
Well, the beauty of it is truth is an absolute defense.
Yeah.
So
I hear rumors. I mean, the legal community here in Las Vegas is small. So people I've worked with that know him say, oh yeah, he gets around. He does not like to be faithful to his wife. And
allegedly
had an ex-wife, and I was told that he would step out on her too, his ex-wife. So that's the accusations that are floating around.
Curiously, though, not to jump ahead too far, will come back, but both of his current wife and his ex-wife testified at his sentencing.
They did, and specifically about him
Him
his
being
role as a father.
good father.
And I have no doubt that, that is accurate. I would say he was probably a good father. He was very involved and very, good at what he did.
Sure. I've heard before that one of the ways that like sociopaths and stuff can be parents and like be good in their children's lives is they view their children as an extension of themselves. So that's like how psychologically they're able to rationalize when they truly only care about themselves. But when something comes from them, it's like, hey, that's me too. So I should care about that and I should love it as well. So maybe there's something of that sort. I don't know.
It's a self-love, self-absorption
or
kind of thing.
Maybe it's just that's what you're supposed to do for your children.
Yeah,
you're supposed to love them and be a good dad. So maybe, I don't know the dude, so maybe.
I don't know him that well. Like a lot came out during this trial. All right, let's fast forward to 2022, the year of 2022.
The year of our Lord.
I have friends that I still have, group chats. We do fantasy football together. And an article comes out from Jeff German about Robert Trelles. And it says he's accused of cheating on his wife and having a toxic work environment in the public administrator's office.
So he stopped being a lawyer at this point.
Well, it's kind of a quasi-legal position.
Right.
Part of the trial is nobody really knows what the public administrator is. And I am super involved.
Does he have an MPA?
In law? No, I don't think so. Huh. It's not public. It's not really public administration. It's more probate administration is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Is what the role of the office is. They help properties that, aren't going through probate. They help them go. Because if you don't have a will and don't have family members, the state takes your stuff.
It's called escheat. ESCHEAT.
So make sure you have your wills in place and everything.
Or just have family members, because the state has your will anyway. But just don't do that. You need a real will.
You need a real will or something. But
shout out terrible Terry L. Turnipseed for drilling that into my head. He's my wills and trust professor from law school.
Yeah.
That's his actual name, Terry L. Turnipseed.
That's the name. So that office is in charge. They don't want vacant properties. Vacant properties bring, squatters. So
vagrancy.
Yeah. So that's the goal of this office. It's a very minor public office, but there are quite a few employees there. And Robert Trelles runs for office and he wins. And he thinks he's very important because of that.
Step one to the governor's seat.
He comes into the accusations are he comes into that office and kind of changes things up. And I'm sure he did. And there were employees getting overtime and he put an end to that. He's ending government waste, which Justin, you can get behind that, right?
Like let's end all that. No more overtime for those people.
He tries to shake things up, but then this article comes out, Jeff German. The employees have a video of Robert Trelles and an employee in the back seat of a car together, and then they get out and get in the front seat. And they
were they like playing backgammon or something?
No, they were having a business meeting.
Businessmen doing business things.
That's his response. That's his response is that, oh, I'm not cheating on my wife, that I have 2 children with. I'm just in the back seat because that's a place that we could meet. And all these employees hated me, and they hated her. So we needed to meet in the back seat.
Well, sometimes the front does have that bench in the middle. So if you're really trying to get, to where you can see better.
And have the paper down in between you guys.
Obviously, that's right there. And then
the paper you can really look
each
at.
Print or sign or maybe draw pictures for each other.
These employees went and spied and videoed them coming out of the back seat, and it was this big thing. So me and my law school buddies, we were texting about this, and we're like, obviously, like, this guy's a cheater. Like, he's a bad person. Yes, toxic work environment, obviously. And he goes on and just defends himself and says, I'm not cheating. They just don't like me because I'm trying to do things right. And they didn't do things right before. Poor me.
All right.
I'm the real victim here.
Anyway, let's stick to the facts and not your...
That's what he said. I'm just paraphrasing.
Did he say it in that tone?
Yeah, of course he did.
No, he didn't.
Oh,
maybe he did. I don't know.
All right. So Jeff German comes out and writes a few more articles. Just displaying, just the poor things happening at this office. Meanwhile, Robert is facing re-election for this position.
those articles probably would have been a hindrance to that. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
he lost the primary. He lost the primary. Didn't even get to the general election.
Okay, so the other person got more than 50% of the vote. And then,
No. He was not the primary winner for his party.
Oh.
He ran as a Democrat. There were 3 candidates, and
that
one.
explains it.
Don't.
I
say
understand
that.
all this
Don't
now.
say that. Don't say that. He's like,
Oh, come on! I make fun of both sides.
he's like Trump. He would pick whatever party puts him in.
Yeah.
And then Trump used to be a Democrat. Now he's a Republican, and he said when he was younger, "I'm going to run as a Republican because they're idiots. They'd vote for me." So there's a lot of people that change parties.
Yeah, I think that was an Oprah interview, right? Howard.
Howard Stern.
But he
yeah.
also did do one like back in like the early '90s. Maybe it was Barbara Walters or something where he said something very similar. Anyway,
The public administrator office should not, really be partisan anyway. It's,
who cares?
It's not.
they need to administrate publicly
Yeah, but it is
for all parties.
for whatever reason it's a partisan office. So he ran as a Democrat, lost in the primary. So he's a lame duck for 6-7 months. He doesn't even make the general election in November.
Okay.
So during that time, Gurman doesn't stop. He still writes articles that are negative about Trelles.
Well,
What? Well, what?
why?
Why? Because he's an investigative journalist that doesn't stop, and that is his First Amendment right.
I agree,
to
but
freedom
where's-
of press
Where's the what's the point though?
to get eyes on.
'Cause
I
if-
mean, what's
if-
the point of press but to get eyes on your work?
Sure, and let's say that like the environment was toxic. I'll take it at face value. Say that it was, and he achieved his goal of bringing light to that, and then the people spoke with their votes. So, and then I'm not being funny. Like, what was the point?
But his
I don't
goal,
get
his
it.
goal's not to say, "Hey, you are not going to be the public administrator anymore." His goal is to put to light the important things, that are maybe semi-private until I bring them out.
Okay.
And so I don't
I don't know.
mean,
It just doesn't seem like who cares what somebody's if they're cheating on their wife. People cheat on their wives every day, and we don't see news
and
reports
that
about
that
it.
wasn't the main point of his article. It was, hey, this public office is so bad, and
right.
and it also came out, and there's been so many things on this. It also came out that even the environment was so toxic that one of the employees there was considering committing self-harm.
What?
What do the TikTokers say?
Unaliving themselves.
Unaliving herself because of how dire the situation was, how rude he was, like micromanaging. And
Yeah, that's the thing. And I guess
I'm just saying that's
Maybe
have
it's
you
like the
have you
difference.
been at a toxic work environment before?
yeah.
So like
Yes, the first real job I ever had after I left high school was pretty toxic.
exactly.
All right?
So I mean, if you are in a relaxed
The words
environment,
they would call us as they were making us do the worst things.
if you're in a relaxed
even as
work
a civilian,
environment
yes,
and then
I
it changes.
I had jobs that-
Marines, yeah.
But no, I'm
Sorry.
just talking like I've had jobs where I had bosses that like I would this is the best way to put it. On like a Saturday, right? My alarm's off. I'm not going to work. I would wake up immediately, right? Ready to go. Let's go do an adventure. My body's just saying, hey, it's a free day. Let's go have fun. A work day, I would have to snooze my alarm like 17 times because I would be so exhausted. Like my body was rebelling against me getting up and going to that place. I hated it so much.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about hurting myself. Have I thought about hurting my bosses, the people who are making my life a living hell? Yeah, 100%.
But people are different, right?
Sure,
Like,
I know, and
people are different.
I'm not talking crap on people that have that reaction to it. I'm just saying, like, I can't imagine not wanting to just get away or do something if that's the point that I got to.
This is the biography that comes out, and
Sure.
this specific employee who feels that way, and it's just it just shows how the situation was there. Okay,
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to point out.
Got it.
So articles continue to come out, and suddenly in September, it's reported that Jeff Gurman was found dead outside of his home.
September of 2022.
September 2022. The general election is going to happen in November. So the primary happens, May, I believe is the month, May or June. So 3 months of consistent articles. There were 4, and I think a 5th one was being planned. Is what comes out in the trial. So what's publicly available as information is usually a pretty small part of what the police report is.
That's correct.
And then when it goes to trial, we see pictures, we see evidence that just makes us go, wow, like this is a lot of information now. So I had been watching this and waiting for this to come out. So the thing that happens is it is reported a couple days after that there is a vehicle and a video of what they believe the killer is.
Oh, this is in September.
Okay. Yeah, in September. So there's a video that comes out and the vehicle, and it's very soon after.
And did you notice this when it happened? Like you contemporaneously remember the news and stuff? Okay.
Yes.
I don't have any sort of news sources because I just don't watch it.
So I watch local news, and I have this, local group chat that's saying, wow, like, is this, could this be Robert Trelles? Like, and so it's found pretty soon after that his specific burgundy Escalade. Burgundy Yukon Denali.
Denali, I was going to say, yeah. I didn't think it was an
burgundy, like a specific shade of red, even like a not very common.
Like my old F-150?
Yes. Well, a little more red than the purple brown aspect, but yeah, sure.
Okay, right.
So it comes out that he owns it and he becomes a prime suspect for this.
Which makes sense, especially considering that the deceased journalist was writing a bunch of hit pieces on him.
and the history of Jeff German is he would go after everyone. He would go after mobsters. Like, he's been in town for decades.
I think the people that talked at his sentencing said it was like the late 70s or early 80s was when he came to town from Minneapolis or something.
Milwaukee.
Yeah,
Milwaukee. So
started with an M.
So he would go after, everyone. And he was very well known. And he lived in an old neighborhood, lived next to his neighbors for decades.
Sure.
And so they all kind of knew each other, older neighborhood.
It wasn't one of those like 55 and older places, was it?
No, it was just the
was
houses. Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's right by where the 95 turns into Summerlin Parkway.
That's a nice area.
Yeah. So it's a little older. The homes were, all built in the 70s, something like that.
Sure.
So, but neighbors end up testifying because they have video of it. So we'll talk about that. So we, like, the group chat is just like, what is going on,
Right, because it's someone that you went to law school
Robert
with as a murder suspect.
Is the prime murder suspect. And we watch this video and think of, when we saw this guy walking and the gait that he had, the gait, G-A-I-T. We talk about how he walks, and we're just thinking, this looks similar to us. Like, we had seen this guy walk before. We knew who he was, and this looks like him. He's got a big straw hat hiding his face, so we don't know for sure. And we're just like, man, this is crazy. So then he gets brought in, and we're just all kind of like, could this be? Like, is this real? And as you know, in criminal cases, they get some DNA off him. They, take fingerprints, whatever, to see if there's enough evidence.
There'll be a search warrant for his person, which includes the DNA, fingerprints, also his house.
And so he goes, he comes back into his house, and he's in his white, special gown, and he's getting interviewed. Like, investigative reporters are trying to talk to him while he's going into his house. Did you do this? Did you murder?
Did they give him an interview, or did he give one?
No, he just walked right past him, closed his garage. He is a lawyer. He is a licensed attorney. He knows a little bit about don't talk to cops. But
do you think he loses his license over this, or do you think the Nevada bar does the same thing it does with everybody and doesn't do anything to him?
They already prospectively took his license before.
Okay, that's the bar.
When you're accused of murder.
Murder somebody,
Murder somebody.
Lose your license.
So they run the DNA, and they say, oh, this DNA is under, this guy's fingernails.
The DNA of Trelles.
Yeah. So we do now have probable cause to search your home for a murder weapon.
Who put that there?
anything implicating you in the murder. So they try to go and execute their search warrant in his home. And they can't get in. And Robert Trelles is there. And there is some evidence that he might be self-harming and trying to end his own life.
Oh.
So they send in a drone. This comes out in the trial later. We hear that there is a standoff at the house. That's what's being reported in the news.
How could they not? What do you mean not get in?
I don't know.
Usually they just knock the door down.
I don't know if they were worried, about him having a gun to his head, and if they come in, boom, that's it. He ends it.
So it was more of like the threat of what may happen.
A preservation kind of thing. I don't. it was not reported in the trial whether his family was home.
Okay.
Because he is a father. He does have a
Had
wife.
a couple kids. Yeah.
You know, obviously an innocent wife. The testimony at trial shows that, you know, she had no involvement whatsoever. Children that should not be involved in anything like this.
And they probably should not have to see their dad die.
So hopefully they're away from the house. We don't know. That didn't come out in trial or the news. So we are not aware of that.
Sure.
So he is found eventually through drones coming into the house that he is in his bathtub and potentially bleeding out. So he had some self-inflicted, you know, cuts or wounds or something. So the SWAT guy came in and testified at trial and he was a very SWAT guy. he was a guy that was, you know how we talked about, hey, obviously you're, you know, could be the cop and I.
Oh yeah. Like got that look.
He's got that look about him and just the way he presented himself at trial. Yeah, no, we executed, we breached, you know, just the way he talked. You could tell he's a SWAT guy. Good. Glad we need people like that. So they go and get him.
I kick down doors.
They bring him. They bring him back to life. You know, make sure he's good. He was bleeding out. He had lost
a lot of blood, enough blood that he'd passed out.
That was my understanding. That's what it sounded like from
he
the testimony.
He was in the bathtub?
He was in his own bathtub, yeah.
So it was like the scene from, what the hell is that movie? I don't know, but it's like the new...
13 Reasons Why?
Huh?
13 Reasons Why, that show?
That one, or the new It movie where what's-his-face kills himself, unalives himself, and the bath water's all red, and you just see him kind of sitting there and like his wrist is still leaking. Is this what we're talking about? Like, is that basically what's going on?
There's no pictures that come out, and that doesn't become part of the trial either, so that is left to the mystery.
Sure.
Like that.
I mean, if he'd lost enough blood that he'd passed out, he'd lost a lot of blood.
He was with the crisis team on the phone for a while about, you know, harming himself, and that comes into play in the trial later.
Sure.
So then they do execute the search warrant, and it is revealed at that time, and we become aware of this in 2022. They find pieces of the hat that was on the video of the murderer. This big wide-brimmed hat. It's been cut up, and there's pieces, you know, around the house. And the exact same pair of Nike shoes, one had been partially cut up. So this was only a couple days after the murder happened on a Friday. This is, you know, now the next Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday kind of time frame. So partially cut up shoe, partially cut up hat found in his house, and you just think, wow, that's enough to say to just a public person, yeah, he did it. Okay.
Or at least he needs to be put on trial to determine if he did it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, in the opinion of the court of public opinion, it was enough for me.
He was convicted in the court of public opinion 92% on the poll.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
So,
I saw on the live stream.
I would have never been a juror because I knew him and had knowledge of things that happened. Oh, another thing I failed to mention is 2020, he gets arrested for domestic violence on his wife.
The current wife?
Yes.
Okay.
And he was drunk, and he was on video. They have body cam that comes out after, oh, you're just arresting me because I'm a public official. It's like, nobody knows who you are.
They probably don't even know what the public administrator's office is.
What is the public administrator's office? And so that's part of...
Austin doesn't know.
It shows evidence of self-importance.
Dude, he administrates the public, all right?
He does this. So I have connections and I hear certain things.
What are you doing with your hands?
No, I'm just talking like this. So he's still in office when he gets arrested. He gets arrested, put behind bars, and he's still in office and getting paid. So
what? Because it's a government position.
So one thing the government does is they sue him to end his pay early.
Did they do another vote of no confidence? That would be brilliant if they did. That'd be good.
So he ends up losing his pay finally. It took a little bit, but they filed the motion and stopped paying him. So that was one part of it in the news that came out. He's still getting paid, guys. Oh, well, maybe we should stop that.
We can't have that. Government waste.
So, and then the bar comes in and says, we're going to hold your license back, you know, until we figure that out. And they usually wait. I personally know some people that work at the jail, and we have heard what a difficult inmate he's been while he's been sitting in pending trial. making all sorts of requests for research documents, papers, books.
How dare this inmate want to defend himself?
Oh gosh, no. I mean, there's reasonable ways to do it. The judge denied all such requests. So during the pendency of the case, he gets an attorney. Doesn't like that attorney, says go away. Gets the public defender. Gets another attorney because he doesn't want the public defender. Doesn't like that attorney. Substitutes in another attorney. That attorney files a motion to withdraw because of irreconcilable differences. They cannot.
I don't know this for certain, but we talked about this before the episode. Irreconcilable differences in that instance probably means that the other attorney was like, hey, bro, you're fucked. You need to take a deal. Otherwise, you're going to end up getting life with the possibility of parole.
So there's a big hearing that's on the news, and I'm tracking this, where he's filing to represent himself because he's an attorney, or kind of an attorney at this point. He's been an attorney, and
terrible plan.
So here in Clark County, we have only a very select subset of judges who handle murder trials. We call them the murder team, murder squad. I've heard too, but it's a very
sounds very comic booky.
It does, but it's a very select group of judges who hear murder trials. This was a team. It was only created like 6-7 years ago, something like that.
What? Levitt, Kearney,
Tira Jones as well. Yeah. I know those are 3 of them, but there might be more.
I don't know.
So there's it's a sub selection of, like the best. And these all practice criminal law. They all practice criminal law.
So they
are
have
very, very super familiar with this.
Both the personal history and experience, but also they've been on the bench for a while, and they're very experienced in handling criminal matters.
Judge Levitt was the judge here, and she was the judge from the beginning to the end of this case. And she made some rulings that Robert Trelles did not like because he knows the law the best. So he wanted to represent himself. So the judge has to make sure that it is in the best interest of a criminal defendant to do so. And so she has to protect herself and possible appeals.
Right.
And so she has a 45-minute long hearing asking him questions, what he knows about criminal law, what he knows about objections at trial, if he's ever handled any criminal cases, if he's done anything with a murder case, because a murder case is the top of a criminal law case. It's not just, you're doing a bench trial and a misdemeanor case. No. You are putting on what ended up being 2 weeks of evidence.
Very complicated trial. And the other thing that's important about a murder trial is that the consequences are huge.
A little severe.
I mean, and so
there's a possibility of the death penalty. Possibility.
Theoretically.
Possibility.
Yeah. You either have a person who is innocent, who has been accused of murder, or you have a murderer who's been accused of murder, right? And either way, that gets the thought bubble process of like the different possibilities that could occur, and none of them are without significant gravity. So you have to have an advocate who knows what they're doing.
It's pretty serious, you'd say, huh?
I would call it serious with all caps, in fact.
All caps, no cap. So,
hey, this guy's got that Riz. I don't know what that is. Rizmeister?
Ohio Rizzler, baby.
Hell yeah, the Ohio State.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're saying. Right?
I don't know.
I'm 38 years old. I don't know what the fuck those idiots are talking about.
Michelle Levitt has this hearing for 45 minutes, and undoubtedly Trelles feels just mocked by this hearing, saying you are doubting I am a licensed attorney, not like these other inmates around me who are all guilty, by the way. I'm the innocent one here.
Did he actually say that?
No.
Oh,
no.
I was like, what the hell?
No, but you can see it in his eyes. Like there's the way this guy carries himself. And
you spent a lot of time looking in his eyes.
He did get a lot of women to be with him somehow, some way.
Oh, you mean his wives and stuff. Gotcha.
His wife and girlfriends at work, and yeah. So he does not like the judge. He files a motion to have her recused off the case. She says no, like there's no basis for that.
I love those motions because the judge that's on the case gets to hear it. It's super funny to me. No.
How about no? Like just because you don't like me is not a basis. Just because I've given you rulings that I think are legally, correct, are not a basis. So I am going to be your judge, Mr. Trelles, and
I am denying your request.
but that comes in later because of their history. He's filing these motions to have more access to things, and he's basically he's looking to be treated special and different than all the other inmates. They do have access to books and research, but eventually he hires an all-star attorney who we know, Robert Trelles, an amazing trial attorney, and this came out. Everyone was impressed with Mr. Trelles, and we're good friends with the second chair attorney as well, Michael Horvath, who...
I see Horvath in court. Well, I see Mr. Trelles,
Yeah, we see him both.
Bob, and all the time, but
Behind the scenes, Horvath was doing, a lot of work. These are 20-hour days that these guys are putting in, and they did so amazing with what they had. And Justin likes to tease me that I had a personal, I did not like Robert Trelles.
likes to tease you. You mean I like to point out facts?
That I would have been a biased juror.
You would not have been able to be a good juror.
I would not have been able to be a non-biased juror because I had certain facts in my mind, and the way I feel about cheaters is maybe different than the normal person, or I dislike them more than the average person. You dislike them a lot too, but
I'm not,
But you can't judge them for murder because of that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So
nobody is their worst mistake.
Okay, Trelles did an amazing job
Crushed it.
Just with the situation and with what I would call a very difficult client.
You're touching your winnings there. Do you want to get into that now?
So during the trial, Justin bet me $10 and our legal assistant $20 that it would either be a hung jury or a not guilty verdict.
And that's because of Mr. Trelles. Straight up. That closing statement, there are still some things I have questions about, and there's no rational answer, which creates a reasonable doubt.
No. So he only heard the closing argument from Trelles, did not hear the state's closing or reclose. So when you hear things, you do get persuaded one way or the other. It's undoubted that it happens and, creates, this is something I need to look at more, at least. All right, let's go through the trial. We are ready. We've talked about all the attorneys. Oh, man, this guy. The state does their opening and brings in the evidence we have not seen before. And this has the public attention. This is on YouTube with, tens of thousands of people watching.
Was it that many?
At points, yeah, because there's different feeds.
Sure.
So...
Just like our live stream right now, tens of thousands.
Tens of ones.
Tens. Literal tens of people. Sometimes 4 people.
So the evidence comes out in opening. You can put in opening statements what you reasonably believe that is going to be in evidence later.
Correct.
So
you'll stipulate.
Or it could be stipulated, or you have to have, okay, I know this is going to be in. And so for the first time ever, we see photographs of Jeff German's dead body on the side of his house, and it just looks, it just makes it real. And
it's because there's a dead person there.
And you hear some of the evidence of Robert Trelles' cell phone device was at his house at the time of the murder. But guess what? It had no text messages sent out or calls made out. And it's like, oh.
He was meditating, dude.
Okay. He does not have an alibi. Okay. It's a Friday when he should be at work, but he's a lame duck, so he's working from home because he doesn't want to be in the office, is what the story is.
All right.
So,
I've seen you on Fridays, so don't poke fun about that, okay, dude?
Oh, wow. That's funny.
I'm a funny guy.
You are funny. So the state says, we think that our evidence is going to be through this Friday. It was not through this Friday.
Didn't it go until Tuesday?
It did. They had like 20 witnesses. But civil attorneys that are watching this are like, wow, how can you guys get through so many witnesses so fast? These criminal attorneys, they got it down, But
it's also because they're hitting elements, and they use each witness for a particular purpose, and they don't just put them up there to bill.
Yep. So, nobody's getting paid. Criminal attorneys usually get paid. You're paying me the full amount because if you go to prison, I'm not getting paid at all. So
the prosecutors are
then the
salaried.
prosecutors are salaried. Like they don't get paid anything extra for winning or losing their trial.
Well, their job is not to win. Their job is to do justice.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So let's talk about the witnesses in order. The state makes a big plan of this trial, and they have two excellent prosecutors that are on their special prosecuting murder team that do these kind of trials all the time.
Great job.
They did a great job with the case.
And one of them is good at poker as well.
Yeah, I know.
He beat me last time.
I know. I don't want to talk about losing money to prosecutors.
It's fine. I don't care.
Doing illegal activities of gambling. No, just
It
kidding.
wasn't illegal. We were just playing poker.
Yeah, we're just, having fun.
Dudes being bros.
So the first people that get up to testify are Robert Telles' neighbors across who have cameras, 2 cameras on their home.
Tellis's or Gurman's?
Sorry, my bad. Gurman's neighbors across the street that have 2 cameras that show what's going on. Part of the story is Gurman's garage remains open for a couple days, and they're like trying to reach out to him. They don't know what's going on. So, and they are the owners of the video. They can confirm, this is accurate video. That's something you need for trial. You need to know that it's the
Laying
best
the foundation
evidence.
for it, where it came from, how did it get to the police, all this stuff.
It had come out in the early stages, that there was video of the attack. It was never released until the trial. So we see grainy footage of this attack that happens on the side of the house, kind of behind some bushes. And these are the first witnesses. They get very emotional about even finding him dead, calling the police, happening upon his body. So
It's their neighbor and it's a dead body.
No,
man.
and
What do you
that's
expect?
in their own neighborhood. This could happen.
Yeah.
Like in a quiet, peaceful neighborhood with no issues. So these are the first witnesses, are 3 different neighbors. Next, there is a ton of police officers, and it's hard to go over all of them. They all have different kind of jobs.
Just
But
generally is good, man.
They testify about, their specific, what they did. Hey, I showed up at the scene, I bagged this, whatever.
Right, yeah,
I'm the one that pointed out the shoes,
the crime scene people, you had the detectives, you probably had some beat cops,
DNA.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, one of the first ones too is this man by the name of Cliff Mogg, who is a retired police officer and becomes an expert. And because this was such an important murder to them, they did an investigation that might not have happened for other murders. And so what they do is they see that this vehicle is...
I don't like that.
Why?
They would...
You don't like that? That's what... I don't know. Am I wrong about that?
I don't know.
Do you think that they would track someone's vehicle back to their home like they did?
I think that that dude that got murdered right outside of our office 2 months ago,
They tried.
They at least showed up looking for video.
They tried, yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, if you're talking about canvassing a neighborhood,
Yeah, I don't know if there's more effort or not.
I don't know. I mean, there were only 2 people.
Let's hope not, but
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, that guy.
yeah, we had a guy shot. Downtown Las Vegas is an interesting place.
Like 50 meters from our front door,
Yeah.
just executed on the street.
yeah, and not funny.
No,
by the
I'm not
way.
laughing at it. It's just nuts. It's like I'm driving to work and the roads are all blocked off, and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
No
And then
leads whatsoever on
I get
that.
parked and I'm walking in the office because I'm always first, and I look and I'm like, that is definitely a dead person. And there's someone just taking pictures of him, and it's like, what the fuck? This is what is happening? Why is this here? It was crazy.
That was crazy, and from our understanding, no leads whatsoever.
No, the detective said that there was because there's no cameras. It just happened to be in a blind spot, and so
It sucks, man.
yeah, it
That
sucks.
sucks.
Real quick. So we have 10 minutes left, but we want to go over what's...
What?
'cause it's like,
There's no way we've done 50 minutes. Liar.
49, 46, right?
You're a liar.
I mean, we could do 2 on this one and then 1 next week, and that'll cover the week that I'm out.
All right. So Cliff Mogg, he puts together, is it Mogg?
I think it was Mogg. M-O-G-G, right?
M-O-G-G. He puts together video, and he goes from German's house and looks at the route that Telles would take back to his house, and takes that route and sees where there might be home cameras or business cameras that would pick up a car. This specific, burgundy red.
That's some good detecting.
car. That is good detective work, and finds 10-ish, maybe less than 10 camera spots. And then there's one outside of the school, right outside Robert Telles' house, that turns into the neighborhood about 10 minutes, 15 minutes after the murder.
Which is approximately how long it would take to get there from his house, from where the murder happened, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, with the exception that in the beginning videos around German's house, there's no license plate. And then at the end, there is a license plate there. So there was a 5-minute gap. in the middle there that might account for putting a license plate on or trashing some of the clothes that were involved at maybe a public park or who knows. So there's a good timeline on that, a somewhat convincing timeline on that. Anyway, so his testimony becomes important. DNA experts, DNA lab technicians, doctors, whatever, come in and testify. Autopsy becomes an important part. You have to prove that the cause of death, was actually by whatever happened. So,
and in this case, it was stabbing.
It was stabbing. Yes, it was a stabbing, and
You stabbed him 7 times, right?
I don't know on that number specifically, but we talked about it before. So if your memory's that, then
I believe it was at like 4 and 3, chest and neck.
I'll defer to you. Yeah. And then testimony. So Robert Trelles' job was, like I said, probate and selling homes. So as part of that, he worked with real estate agents to get those homes sold, and they would take money on it. They wouldn't do it for free. They'd take their customary fee of 3%, whatever it is, but making tens of thousands of dollars on each transaction for listing and selling a home. So he would hire. He had the discretion and the primary decision to decide who he worked with in those and which real estate companies or agents would be used to sell these homes and make money on it.
Was he getting kickbacks?
That became part of the trial. He got investigated for that, and it was found, or at least there was not enough evidence found to show that he did have anything. So whether those are cash transactions, it comes out that the guy owns a lot of homes. He got out of law school about the same time as me, and he's got a lot more money than me. So he was doing things better than me, I guess, or
He was obviously just better an attorney than you.
Smarter.
#smart.
Smeared. So who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to speculate as to that. They come in and have a detective testify that, we didn't find anything. This isn't the reason that, because Robert Trelles' whole defense that came out is, I was framed for this murder. I know that there's DNA under the fingernails. I know that I had this stuff in my house. What else can he say, I guess?
And that someone drove a vehicle that looked exactly like mine.
They got a vehicle that looked exactly like mine, put my DNA under the fingernails, and planted that evidence in my house.
If he would have used a separate vehicle, they never would have found him. Ever.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe not.
Why would they have his DNA profile? They'd have a random...
They didn't. They
That's
ran
what I'm
it.
saying.
They ran it and they didn't find it. That was part...
That's what I'm saying. They'd have a random DNA profile and they'd never know.
They'd never know. But then it could also be a rental car of some sort. And it was primarily his wife's car that he took because he had another BMW or Mercedes, I think, was what the testimony was. So, yeah, he's fancy, more richer than me, maybe even still. Not in the ways that count, guys. Not the ways that count.
You guys both have families. Shut up.
People that love us.
What's that like?
So his former real estate people come on, and part of the testimony is he's trying to say that these people are fighting with him, and they want to be the ones to bring him down because he's trying to bring out this corruption because his cause is so big and he's so important that he's going to bring down these real estate, companies that are making money off of these transactions that he's affiliated with. And so he stopped giving this money to these people and allowing them to get all this money. And it's millions of dollars. So they wanted to frame me for the murder of Jeff Gurman. What? I was confused by it, but that is his entire defense. So these real estate agents, come up and say, no, we had a good relationship. There was some evidence that there was a little fight. And so they said, no, we worked with him 10 times after that little fight, even though we had these emails. So we didn't have any, bad feelings about Trelles. We had no bad feelings about him. So his ex-girlfriend or mistress at the office that he's Trelles's backseat friend.
The business partner who was doing business things.
She comes
backseat business dealings.
Backseat business. It does come out at trial that they do have romantic messages, and he has to admit, he did not admit it first, but the messages are brought out, and it shows that there is a romantic relationship there. So he finally leans into it, as maybe all pathological liars eventually do when they're presented with the evidence and can no longer deny it, and they know that there's no other choice and I am not going to be believed. Okay, yes, that's true, but I lied to protect my family.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
So he has to, because he has a jury of his peers in front of him, and they're going to know he is an absolute liar if he says, "Oh no, when I said I love you, I meant I love you, coworker."
Yeah, I mean, I think I've told you. I think I've told you I loved you before, probably once or twice.
In the backseat.
Well, I mean, we've sat in back seats together. It's just kid stuff, though, man. Come on, need some relief, you know.
Oh
God!
Do you see these business documents in the back seat? I cannot. The light in the back seat is so much better.
It's attached to my zipper. Grab them.
Gross.
It's just, come on, man. Like, the thing I don't understand about these people is people like this, right? They are so self-absorbed and so self-important that they think that they're involved in the situation that very clearly looks like exactly what it is, but that they're so convincing that they're going to be able to tell reasonable people, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Oh, well, there's no one back there then. No, you fucking idiot.
Sociopath has been a word used to describe Robert Trelles in a lot of chats for YouTube videos.
However, he has not been diagnosed by a medical professional, so that is not our opinion.
That is not my opinion. I said the comments say that.
And I know,
Shane
I'm just
Cox
saying.
and Cox and Wilson and Tangled Rights have never said that.
Nope.
Would I say he has sociopathic tendencies?
Maybe Austin has, though. Who can tell?
So ex-girlfriend at work testifies, and even she says, yes, he hated Jeff German.
Use the hate word?
Hate. Another guy gets up to testify, and he is another one that Robert Trelles is trying to say is involved in the conspiracy. A detective by the name of Derek Jappy, who I didn't realize during all the mentioning of Derek Jappy, but I kind of knew him before. I knew his wife, and because I know him, I know him to be a very honest guy, a very good person, a family-oriented man, and a good guy. And for him to try and point the finger at Derek Jappy, when I realized who it was, I was like, "Oh, this guy, he's a super nice guy." So, Derek Jappy was in on it. And he was the one investigating Robert Trelles to see if he was taking money illegally. And he was also looking into other things in Compass Realty to see if this real estate agency was taking money or doing something illegally. So he was doing both at the same time, looking at these. And then he was on the crisis team. So he was the one talking to Robert Trelles about
all that stuff whenever he was in the house?
Yes. So he knew it, and he got assigned to it because he had a history with Robert. And usually you want somebody that, knows you. Hey, I know you're a family man. I know you love your kids. So he got involved that way as well. And so, no, Robert said that's because it's part of the conspiracy, and he would plant evidence, to do this. And
it goes back to the backseat thing, man. He's just like, he's so convinced of his own grandeur that how could people not believe him?
But a jury doesn't know these people. I am in the position of friend of a friend, Derek Jappy seems like a great guy. Trelles, I know, in my opinion, is not a great person. And in fact, I think he's a bad human being. So,
but that's just a personal opinion.
That's my personal opinion, but that's where I'm sitting. I'm like, no, this is not the guy to point out. But a jury who doesn't know either of these people, and they're presented before, these are going to be the witnesses. Do you know any of these people? And undoubtedly, in a town of 2 million people, you're probably not going to know,
Isn't it like 2.6 in the Valley?
I think we're getting close to 3. Yeah. I think we're at least 2.5. Yes. Anyway, you're not probably going to know, this cross section of people, but me and you, I guess, we're in this legal world,
which is a much smaller community,
which is a small community. So I knew some people. So Derek Jappy comes and testifies. He's like, no, I'm not involved in this, but this is what I did. Yes, he was, threatening self-harm, and I tried to talk him down out of it. All right, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to have to cut it off here. I went on way longer than I thought I was going to, and we're going to have a second episode out of this. We will be back with the rest of this trial next week. See you later.